Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, a place to find connection and a sense of belonging, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about sensitivity and the richness that it adds, the strengths we have because of our sensitivity, and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there, to the creatives, healers, sensitives, and deep thinkers. If you're listening to this live on Thanksgiving Day in the United States, 2019, wishing you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. This is a really special episode with Ranielle, and Ranielle took the Online HSP course just this last round, and she was willing to jump on and talk with me about her experience. And what I love about this interview is Ranielle learned that she was a highly sensitive person because her therapist asked her to take the quiz. And Ranielle was a listener of the podcast, and she decided to take the online course. And so she talks about some of the fears that she had around taking the course and the challenges she had committing to spend the money. She talks a little bit about that. She's able to compare and contrast what is it that she gets from therapy that she wasn't able to get from the group, and what is it that she got from the group that she wasn't able to get from therapy. If you're thinking, I'm not interested in this episode, I don't want to take the Online HSP course, two things. I am going to be releasing, hopefully weekly, recordings of people that just went through this last batch of the course, because I really want you to hear from other people what they experienced, because I think that they can express things that I just can't. And like I say, with every time that I talk about the course, it's really an opportunity for you to listen and see where are you at with your skill set. Do the same things come up for you? Are these things that you've worked through? So it really gives you a chance to kind of assess where you're at with your skills. Let me tell you a little bit about Ranielle. Ranielle is a Pacific Northwest native, dedicated cat and dog guardian, and is becoming a more enlightened and empowered HSP. She and her dog, Calamity Jane, have been a Pet Partners therapy team since 2015 and participate in Read to Dog programs, as well as high school, college, and workplace stress release clinics. After 20 years in the entertainment industry, Ranielle is wholeheartedly pursuing her passion for dogs by working in a doggy daycare, with an eye to becoming a dog trainer and small business owner. Now, Ranielle and I recorded 2 videos of this conversation and another one. I will be playing those pretty soon on the Facebook open page called Unapologetically Sensitive, and I have a closed Facebook group by the same name called Unapologetically Sensitive. While we're recording, Ranielle's 2 cats are fighting in the background, and on the video, I think she says in this recording that she needs to get them to stop fighting, but it's nice. You can see her cats and her dog in the background walking around. So if you're interested in seeing that, hop on over to those pages. They will be up there within the next week or so. So hopefully today you're relaxing, you're enjoying yourself. If you're stressed, if it's been a hard day, if you're feeling loss and grief, I really want to encourage you to allow whatever feelings are coming up and to allow yourself radical self-compassion. And now, on to the show. Hey, Ranielle, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Patricia. Thank you so much for having me.
We just finished the 10-week Online HSP course, and you were willing to jump on and just talk a little bit about how the course was for you. So I'm curious to know, what were you hoping to get out of the course when you signed up for it?
When I signed up for the course, I had made the decision to make sort of a major life change decision. I had been listening to the podcast and knew the course was coming up, and I looked at the 10 weeks that the course would take place, and I looked at the timing of when this major life transition would happen, and I needed something to help me get through that process, and it really sort of bridged the gap from pre-decision, through that decision, through the next step, through what was next in my life. I was just really hoping to get a space to process everything that was sort of in an upheaval for me.
Mm-hmm. And did you get that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Definitely more than I could say. To be able to sort of, talk out things that were going on in my head and to have them listened to and experiences reflected back to me, to know that the things that were going on in my head weren't crazy things, weren't me overreacting, or weren't me being difficult, that they were, part of an HSP process, because I would hear other people in the group talk about similar things happening to them,
right,
and for them and in them. It really felt, A, that I was making the right decision, and B, that, I was really honoring my HSP-ness to make that decision and that transition.
Right. And that's, to me, that's one of the power of being in a group of other highly sensitive people. If you're in an environment that's safe and contained and everybody is kind of following the same rules, what I heard people say is the things in me that felt like they weren't okay, I'd see it show up in somebody else. And I had so much compassion for that. And then it really helped me to accept that for myself. Does that resonate for you?
It really did. There was one person in the group in particular, a couple of times, who would talk about the thoughts that she had in her head or the things that she was feeling. And it was like she was reading my diary or my mind. And it felt really nice to not feel alone anymore in that. In my life, I had really felt like really isolated because nobody understood what I was going through. And I was just sort of difficult, or I was weird, or I was nitpicky or something like that. To know that there were other people in the world who have had similar experiences, who process things in the same way, who have the same, worries about ruminating on things or making a decision or letting other people know about a decision. It was really enlightening. It really made me feel not alone, and it really made me feel like I'd found my tribe of people who could understand what life was like, because it was kind of all similar for all of us, and we were all there to hold each other up in that.
Yeah. And I don't even know that we always have that even conscious thought of what are the ways that I feel like I'm too much or too picky or whatever that too is. And then when you're in a group of other people, let me ask you, were you conscious of the ways that you felt like you weren't okay, how you were showing up in the world, or did more of that when you heard other people, you're like, oh yeah, me, I didn't think about it. Yeah, that, me too.
Yeah. I felt like there were times in my life where what was reflected back to me was, it felt like a messaging that, this is you, this is your issue, this is your problem.
Yeah.
And it was something for me to fix in myself, and I didn't know how to fix it. I had no tools, but it turns out it wasn't something in me that needed fixing. It was just something in me that needed understanding, and to be seen and heard, and to be known better, to see it in someone else, and to have an understanding and a compassion. And to know that understanding and compassion was coming back, it wasn't anything I'd experienced before.
Yeah. And what I love is like you did that self-correction. You're like, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing that needs to be changed. Like how I am is okay. And I need to learn, I get to learn to embrace this and figure out, how do I get my needs met?
Yeah. I really felt broken for a very long time. And learning that I wasn't broken, and learning that it just changed a path for me. It just changed how I needed to show up in the world. It's not a cure-all, but it made me, I don't know, I don't want to say I hated myself less, but it made me feel more compassion for myself in a way that I hadn't before.
Which is really what it's about. It's going from that place, for me at least, of that belief of there's something wrong with me, I need to change, the world has told me how I show up in the world is not okay, to, oh, this is what being highly sensitive means. Oh, this is how I'm wired. There's nothing wrong with it. What do I need to do to take care of myself, and how can I be kind and gentle with myself and figure out how to get my needs met while navigating in a world that may not always understand what I need, but I can be okay with that.
Yeah, and how to nurture myself and not beat myself down for just being who I am.
Right.
Was nice.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful. So did that transformation process happen before you came to the course, or did that happen more during the course?
It was more during the course. I had started therapy early this year, early in January, and my therapist was the one who told me about Elaine Aron and hsperson.com. And I took the test and I thought, oh, what is this? What? So had been, talking out what the HSP trait is and how certain, things that have happened in my life or feelings that I had or difficulties I've had relating to people in ways, how it all sort of came back to being an HSP. So I'd been working on it a little bit during the year, but I wasn't putting anything into practice until the course. I wasn't trying to set a boundary. I wasn't learning about how to take care of myself, about how to nurture the HSP in me and, give myself the downtime to recover. And I wasn't really a practicing HSP until the course started.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
If that was offensive, I apologize. I thought it was funny, but I may have offended somebody. I'm curious, and I don't know if you can speak to this. So for people that have experienced individual therapy but haven't done a course like this, which is not therapy, how did that work for you being in therapy and having group? And what was it that was different or impactful about group that, I don't want to say that you didn't get in therapy, but are you able to kind of help people understand?
Yeah, I think the difference in the group, and I do think that my therapist is an HSP, so she's able to reflect and model some things back to me, but to have that larger group of people sharing experiences and listening and understanding, I felt really open and vulnerable with my therapist really early on. If I were in a group of, even if it were 5 friends that maybe I've known a really long time, I don't know that I would have felt the same safety, given that, I don't know that all of my friends are HSPs and really understand, the things that go on inside of my brain. But to have that group of HSPs who are talking about things that sound familiar to me, it was a different mirroring, I guess. It was a different reflection of the experience than therapy, where my therapist is just sort of talking me through my experience. But to hear another experience and to watch someone else walk through an experience, you don't get that. Your therapist isn't telling, she's not telling me about like her HSP experience. So I think it worked really well. I would, the group met weekly and I only see my therapist about every other week. So I would be working through things between my therapy sessions, and it helped me talk about how I was processing in those in-between weeks when I would go to see my therapist, what I had, the gremlins I'd had come up, or the emotion I'd let other people see, and to sort of talk through that in a way that I hadn't been for, the first, 6-8 months of the year while I had been seeing her. So yeah, I think it was a really, complementary process.
Right. And I've been trying to think of analogies, and they're not really great analogies. I'm like, do I want to try it? What I've had people tell me who've been in the courses that, like with your therapist, is kind of like your parent, like they have to love me. And my reticence in using this example is, it's not that our therapists are our parents, but therapy or coaching is about reestablishing a healthy relationship where we get that healthy mirroring. And if you have a good fit with your therapist, you probably, hopefully do have that sense of connection and they have an investment in your well-being. But that's one person. And I think our gremlins come in. It's like, well, you're just being nice to me because I'm paying you, which as a therapist or a coach, I can tell you, I genuinely care about my clients. But when you get into a group of people, it's like a kid leaving home with a parent that says, I love you, you're the best. And then they find this group of friends that mirror that same sense of honoring and respect and care. Then you get a sense that this good stuff it extends beyond my individual relationship with my therapist or from my home. And I think that's the value of being in a group, because you're getting those things reflected from other people that have no investment in making you feel good. They're not there to go like, I really want you to feel good today, Ranielle. Everybody's showing up because there's something that they want. But that's kind of where I'm really reluctant to use the word magic, but it's why the power of groups, if they're run well and they're safe and everybody comes kind of ready to share about the same thing, why they can be so powerful. What do you think about that?
I agree with that. I think the thought had crossed my mind early in therapy when I was, because I was still holding on to like, a thought that like what I was going through was a crazy thing. It was, it wasn't the right thing. It wasn't reality. And I was being told that like I was having my own feelings. They were my feelings and they were right because they were my feelings. I'm new to therapy. I'm very new to therapy. This is my first therapist. And I was sort of, I'd sort of be like, well, is she just telling me what I want to hear? It made me feel good, but I was still questioning it.
Sure.
And to have a group of people who, again, you said they have no investment in me to tell me the same thing, to tell me that my reality is my reality, it felt really validating to just be, to just be a person who's having an experience and it not be something I was making up in my head or something that wasn't based in truth or, reality, that it just what was.
Yeah.
Like the group and our group especially, I think there was just a level of connected support that, early on, and I don't know if it was something about everyone's face or energy or, what it was, but it really felt a place where like the truth just got to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I look across the three groups, like it's not about age, it's not about what people do, it's not about demographics, that there just was something. And I think it was that your group was, well, I think your willingness to be vulnerable early on, and then that impacted somebody else, I think. And because everything was done in such a honoring and secure way, I think it really created a sense of safety for everybody. So,
yeah, I think it was there was just a level of honesty and a level of support and a feeling of safety that really just coalesced pretty early on.
So looking back, having taken the course, now that it's ended, did you get what you were hoping to get from the course?
And then some, yes.
Are you able to say what the and then some looks like?
And then some I was really just expecting to get through a transition. And honestly, the transition was going to happen and I was going to get through it. I wanted to survive it better, I guess, with the help of the group. And I really felt like I thrived in it because of the group. Mm-hmm. I really felt that I was able to express myself to other people when I was making a scary decision in a way that felt really protective and honoring of what I needed and, where I needed to go in my life. I don't know that I would have had the same sort of sensitivity to myself and others without the group talking me through it a little bit. And going into what the next steps of my life are, to be able to feel more confidence in myself about setting boundaries and about asking for what I need and about being a little bit more open and honest about who I am and where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. If I see sort of a roadblock ahead of me in a relationship with someone, to just be better able and open to talk it through. Mm-hmm. I think that the group really, with talking through different things, it just really opened up a new language for me.
Yeah. It makes my heart happy to hear that. I feel like, be very professional. There's a part of me that's like,
yeah, you're like, so
exciting. Yay, it's working. If someone is thinking about taking the course and it's like, I don't know, I know about being an HSP. I've been in therapy. I know all this stuff. That's a lot of money. What would you say that might help them see something that they might not see that
I will say I had the same thoughts. I didn't really know what I was getting into. I think there's a little bit of it where you just have to take the leap. And if you're a person who's thinking about taking the course, but somehow have, an amazing group of HSP friends that you see all the time and talk things through with, and I don't know if you need something, but if you're like me and you weren't always in a group of people, and because people exhaust you, and you weren't talking, you're not talking things through in a way that feels supported, that's what the group does. That, the group is energizing. I was in an evening midweek group, and I should have been going to bed about the time that the group was ending, and I was exhausted. The 45 minutes before the group started, I was like, every single time I would think, God, I'm so tired. I don't know if I want to do this tonight. I felt like showing up for everyone else, not necessarily for me, but that initially. And that group was so energizing. It was a weirdly restorative place. You don't think of being restored by being with people as an HSP usually, but it was I think it was just to get the day off of you, to get a place where people were listening to you and hearing you and supporting you. And we're continuing on, our group is to talk to one another, because it's really necessary. It's a new level of self-care that's worth trying. I would just encourage anyone, if you're on the fence about it, it's because you're thinking about doing it. And they're really, I can't really think that there's any downside to just sort of taking that leap of faith into taking the group.
Yeah. And I have so much confidence. There's a money back guarantee. I mean, there are provisions around what that looks like, and you can go to the website at unapologeticallysensitive.com under the HSP groups page, but there is a money back guarantee in there. I've never had anybody ask for their money back. I think it's just that hard thing because, we don't have that experience of, am I going to be seen and heard? Are my needs going to be honored? I don't like groups. I don't like being online. All of those things. And it sounds like your experience was those weren't barriers at all. Those actually it worked for you.
It really worked. And I think a lot of my hesitation of doing many things is that there's no blueprint. Why don't I know exactly what's going to happen every single time? And you in this kind of group, you can't, there's a difference between who ends up in the group and, what people are sharing and how you're talking and sharing with one another and listening. There's no way to say this is exactly what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And that's really scary. That's to not know exactly what's going to happen, to not know exactly what the other people are going to look like. It's scary to just pop into a chat with strangers, but we're all there for a reason. And I think that even that base, being an HSP and being there for a reason, that base commonality is enough of a foundation with your guidance through those 10 weeks to really build something great and to learn more about myself and how I'm showing up in the world, and to learn more about how other HSPs are showing up in the world.
Yeah. And just going back to something, so not knowing how the group was going to be, even though you read about it, then once you experienced the first group and then the second group, how did that sense of I don't know what's going to go on, what happened with that?
It was gone. Really, I think even just that first group, getting that sort of an introduction and being like, all right, this is how this works. Let's see what the next 9 weeks have in store.
Yeah. And feedback that I've gotten from other people was the structure really feels safe and secure. Mm-hmm. It's not rigid. If things come up, there's room for people to talk about what's going on, but it's very predictable. I really have strong feelings about part of my job of being an effective facilitator is to make sure that everybody gets a chance to talk, that no one person dominates, that everybody's kind and respectful. And the truth is, I really didn't have to do that in any of the groups. That everybody does a really good job of monitoring themselves. But let me just ask you, did you ever have a sense of oh my gosh, that person's talking again, or it's getting out of hand, or it's getting tangential? Did you ever have that experience?
No, I think that part of the experience of being in a group of people who are seeing and hearing you is that we're all pretty well in tune with what discussion needs to happen. Mm-hmm. We've gotten the preparation for the week and what the topic is, but maybe we're still talking about something that happened the week before. Mm-hmm. And with our group, we were talking in the week between over email, mm-hmm. with the flexibility of the course not being you saying, nope, we're talking about topic B today, so let's not talk about topic A anymore. I mean, it's not how life works. It's not how, it's all interconnected inside of us anyway. So I think what the greatest thing about the course is that while no one really dominated, if you didn't want to share, or if you didn't want to talk, or if you just wanted to listen, or if you didn't want to be on video, or if your schedule was too crazy and you needed to not be there, it was allowed. It wasn't like you're not like, reprimanded or downgraded, or, you do what you need to do to get what you need out of the course, and everyone is accepting and understanding of whatever that is.
Yeah. And for the people that are more introverted, that really, they're very actively involved, they're taking in information. And some of those people have said, like, I've been told, like, I'm too quiet and I'm not active enough and I'm, upset. I really understand that people that are introverted need time to process. And so there really was never any pressure. I would often, because I'm extrovert and very verbal, I might sometimes say, hey, just want to check in. Do you want to share anything? Are you doing okay? And that did not, from the feedback that I got, that didn't feel intrusive. But this whole course is about figuring out what it is that works for you and learning how to honor that. And so that's exactly what you're saying. So if that's the only thing that you walk away with, I think that's a huge win, because we tend to feel like, how come we can't be like everybody else? And then we feel not okay. And as soon as we start going like, hey, this isn't working for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, you just have to show up as you. You don't have to try to show up as someone else.
Yeah. I think too, this is a little tangential, but it just kind of occurred to me that doing this work and talking about it and watching you all take risks helps to reinforce what I need to do for me. And I walked out of a yoga class last week, and I got up and I sit in the front of the class. I don't hide out in the back. And it took me, a while. I kept checking in, like, this isn't working. This isn't working. Can I make this work? This isn't working. Okay, I need to leave. How am I going to leave? Because I had to grab my yoga mat and my yoga holder and my water bottle and my towel. And then it meant leaving all of my props in the middle of the course, and then having to walk through the course to the back of the course. And I thought, this is not working for me. I need to leave. That's part of the courage that we learn to build by doing this work and talking about it and being in community.
Mm-hmm. And what you find when you take that chance is a lot of understanding.
Yeah.
You can go through the worst case scenarios in your head, but oftentimes it's all a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about time to wrap up. Is there anything else that you want to share before we end?
I don't think so. I hope I've encouraged folks to take the leap, because I really feel like a more enlightened HSP, and I'm really ready to sort of just be who I am in the world.
Yeah. And we have so many gifts to offer the world. When we're educated, enlightened, empowered HSPs, we're the ones that are going to change the world. We're often the emotional glue in our families. We have so many gifts to offer. And so when we can work on that junk that really holds us back and those messages of who we are isn't okay, like Ranielle said, it's not a fix. Being alive means we're going to have joy. We're going to bump up against challenges, but we have more tools and we really learn how to listen to what we need. It just really can be life-changing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ranielle. Have a great day. Hey again. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm really hoping that these interviews with people that have taken the course are helpful to you and are able to give you information that I'm not able to provide just because I have my own perspective. The new courses will be launching in January of 2020. If you go to my website at Unapologetically Sensitive and go to the HSP group page, I'm going to continue to keep adding information, but the date of the starts of the group, there are 4 groups that I'm going to be running. There's a little registration form. If you know that you're ready, there's an early bird discount if you're listening to this in real time. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at unapologeticallysensitive@gmail.com. I hope today you're feeling some peace, some ease. If you're not, whatever you're feeling is really okay. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.